This episode is presented to you by NFL Sunday Ticket, now on YouTube and YouTube TV. With NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV, you can watch your favorite teams' out-of-market Sunday games, plus watch up to 4 games at once with Multiview. Don't miss the race to the playoffs. NFL Sunday Ticket is now just $39 when bundled with YouTube TV, where you get even more football. Visit youtube.com/Spotify offer to sign up now. Lowest price on YouTube TV with base plan. Rest of 2023 season. Terms and embargoes apply. No cancellations.
The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality, priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
'Tis the season to shine with H&M. Discover the holiday collection and find fashionable pieces for your wardrobe or for under the tree. Get inspired and dazzle with this year's glam. From tuxedo styles, bow detailed pieces, impressive prints, and more. From unforgettable looks to unforgettable gifts. With fashion finds to home decor, find it all at H&M. Treat your loved ones and yourself this season. Shop in-store or at hm.com.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
Anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.
I'll go 94 World Cup hat with you there.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's just jump into it like this. I like that as our intro. We started off here. Everyone, it's just a parade of showing off their memorabilia here. We've had an SKC2 soccer ball hat, an inaugural MLS hat from Thad. This is impressive, you guys.
An Ireland World Cup hat from the 2002 World Cup.
There's got to only be about 5 of those left in existence.
And it still has a tag on it, too.
Mint condition, you guys.
And I got a SKC2 ball over here, a Swope Park Rangers ball. Also.
Yes, you got the name right there the second time. So, guys, Kit Day. It is officially Kit launch day, and when this will be released at least. We're a night early here. We get our sneak preview. We have not seen it ourselves yet. We're going to get a live reveal here while we're recording. Hopefully Chad can share his screen for us. We've got Chad Reynolds here. Chad, did you get a new title? I looked on your Twitter bio and it looked different than it was last year. What is your title? Tell the people.
I am the Senior Director of Brand for Sporting Kansas City.
He doesn't ever like when I say this, but I call him the brains behind the jerseys.
You're right. I do not like when people say I'm the brains behind anything. That's just pressure I do not need in my life.
But it's worthy praise, man.
Sure,
okay.
I'll take it.
Let's introduce Thomas Earle. Go ahead and give your title here as well, man, in SKC2 soccer ball hat.
Yeah, I mean, I have the fun SKC2 hat because I'm the director of retail for Sporting Kansas City. So I'm going into my 9th season with the club. So Chad, I mean, I'm feeling like one of the old timers now with you. Not quite as long as you, but man, I'm up there now.
You made this hat and then didn't release it for anyone else except for yourself. Is that right?
Yeah, it was sent to me as a sample. I mean, judging by the reaction it's gotten, I think I might have to order a couple thousand of these. So, these might hit the shelves here this week.
Guys,
well,
like
at
no
least
joke.
a couple dozen.
Yeah,
this happens about once a week at the office. Thomas comes through with like, "Hey, check out this sample I got," and they are, I mean, maybe 3 out of 10 is good. Which, that's Hall of Fame stuff if this is baseball. But
that's what I'm saying. I'll bat 3 out of 10 every day. So
yeah. No, so often we'll get sent samples that just like hang around the office because they're so bad, they're great, and never see the light of day. I've got that. I still have that dye sub really amazing bad Christmas sweater, like sporting Christmas sweater
Oh,
a couple
yes.
years ago.
That was a fun one. That was a fun
Yeah.
one to trek around the office and see who wants to wear it. That's always the best game that we get to play.
In August.
Yeah.
In August, we get sent that.
All right. Well, this is one of our favorite shows every year. This is one of my favorite dates on the Sporting KC calendar is Kit Drop Day. So I'm very happy to have you both here now. It's every year we do this with Chad. It's some of our favorite pods every year. So yes, we got 2 representatives from the team. Very excited. Although I have to say, I'm sad to see the Swiss Dots go. We hardly knew ye.
Sorry. I didn't realize I was zoomed. Or I was zoomed. Jesus, it's been a week.
Zoomed.
I didn't realize I was muted. We should just kick this thing back to the beginning. No, yeah, I'm
no. We're here for the
Cody
chaos.
Bradley.
I know.
We
Listen,
embrace the awkward.
you guys, I listened to the pod, so I'm well aware at how many starts and stops these have. I think I even texted or I tweeted at Cody earlier this week that I think it's more fun when somebody else builds the show rundown, so Cody has no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And that just feels like a game that we should play constantly.
It bodes well that people are enjoying our lack of preparation. So
makes for good radio.
We do.
Yeah. So but the Swiss stock kit. Yeah. Cody, I think you said this before we were recording, but it felt like it got shorted a little bit because it only got kind of 2/3 of an inaugural season. And I think I would have to go back and check the numbers, but we genuinely try to wear the kits about 50-50, 60-40, at the most. And I felt like it didn't get worn as much that year for whatever reason, just due to the way things broke down, or we played only Western Conference teams or whatever. I
remember even in the middle of that year, someone commenting that why haven't we worn the new jersey really forever? So yeah, it was just a weird thing. It's only 2 years, so I always kind of feel like, wow, it's already going away. But this one in particular seemed like we didn't get much out of it.
Plus, the fans didn't get to see it as much the first year because there was less fans or no fans for a good chunk of that time.
That's a good note too that I hadn't considered. How often people actually got to see it in person.
Yeah,
because
that's always the argument with any kid is like you can see a picture of it, but you might like it or you might hate it. But when you see it in person, it can be completely different feeling for it.
Yeah, that one was tough with such limited capacity in 2020 towards the end of that year, and that was hard. So I definitely agree with you, and it didn't get its fair shake.
Well, and then also, Thomas, I mean, we knew that there were sponsors changing and all that kind of stuff at the same time. So it was that kind of limits the availability at retail. That limits the availability kind of to the fan, which is always an interesting thing that people think about when something has to change like that. The numbers change on the back end of like, how does Adidas produce it and that kind of stuff, which I know we talked a little bit about in this pod last year, which is, the production cycle plays a huge part into everything. We could do an entire podcast about the production cycle and everything for this year's kit and how COVID, everything around the world and supply chain issues changed a lot when it came to designs and both design and the prototyping and then ultimately the rollout of these kits. But
that's something I did not even consider. That the pandemic has affected everything. I guess I should have considered that, but yeah, I didn't even think about that.
I mean, I'll let you in on a little secret, and I won't go into crazy detail, but so Thomas and I have been working on jerseys together now for roughly 9 years, as he said. We've been working on this one for 2 years now, almost 18 to 24 months. Neither of us has still seen a full actual 2022-23 secondary kit in person because the supply chain has been so tight. They came into Adidas USA and we immediately overnighted them down to Arizona to do a shoot with some of the team down in Arizona.
Wow.
I mean, it's been that tight on the timelines. So they're going to be here. We got them, but
we've been told we'll have them.
Thomas and I are told they exist.
We've been told
we will have them. I've seen the shipping reports, but it's been quite the battle to make sure that they arrive here in Kansas City.
Yeah, I've seen some shipping reports.
There was a blizzard today too, so that couldn't have helped either.
No,
well, and there was also a blizzard last week in Indianapolis, and all of those things actually became an issue. We've seen prototypes in person. We have not seen like personally, the two of us haven't seen the final. So up until yesterday at 9:34 a.m., I think is what the tracking, said, we were a little worried they weren't going to arrive on time for us to get a shoot done and everything to release the jerseys Friday. So that's a little peek behind the scenes. So if I sound tired and frazzled this week, you know why.
Yeah, that's normal for you on that week before release anyway, right?
That's very, very true. Yeah, we should start recording this like when I'm spry at some point. I just don't know when that is.
Chad, anytime between Christmas and launch, we are really the first game. I don't know if we're ever really spry, so this wouldn't get released until about July.
Yeah, let's do a July pod next year.
Well, now, Friday should be this should be your day to unwind, right? That's like your Super Bowl Sunday. That's the whole day. That's what you've been preparing for, right?
It is actually, that's the funny part. It is the fun part. Like, this is why we do what we do in so many ways. I always tell people we put on 20 shows a year, and that's when we can get everybody into the stadium. And the truth is, you've got, 20 to let's call it 20 to 25 tent poles in a season that you really want to point people to, whether that's matches at Children's Mercy Park, or that's big road, playoff matches or something like that. And then it's moments like this. It's moments like, dropping the kit, which we're all really excited for. It's the state line block party coming up here, to start to kick off the season for the road match, that kind of stuff. That's why we do what we do in sports. So you're right. It's what we get excited about. It also means that, we don't get a lot of sleep and probably intake a little bit more alcohol than usual the week before.
That's right. Well, so
David, you were going to ask a question. Hang on. David was going to ask a question. I wanted to hear what it was.
Yeah.
Well, so you were talking about, all these prototypes that you guys get to see, and, you haven't seen a full kit. Do those just hang out at the office? Like, if I get like a behind the scenes tour, Thomas and I are best friends already. Thomas bring me to the office and I can see all these like half attempts at design.
I mean, Chad, I would say, yeah. I mean, if he can pick the right drawer that they're in, he might be able to see some half done kits.
If you know the code and you can pick the right drawer, yeah. And David, it's funny because you say, it's all these half attempts. It's two. We have two looks at it before it's real. I mean, you get one early round look. So, for example, we got Proto 2 last week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah, we got the second round prototype for 2023 a week ago. And before that, we got, maybe 6 months ago, we got round 1 prototype, and that's it. That's those in terms of like physical version of what you're looking at. You get all sorts of documents that, break down the print size of the partner, the print size of the, the ADI mark, that kind of stuff. But like, and how, like what it's made out of and all that kind of stuff, but you don't get necessarily physical versions you can look at and touch and say, hey, this color's maybe a little bit off, which is something that we've done in the past. We've looked at something, we've compared colors from year to year on jersey, jersey materials and said, why are these so different? How do we fix this? And then, stuff, but so it is, those days are a little heady because you're just like, oh, we have one shot to get this right now, especially when you get to kind of that round 2 prototype where you literally have one shot to make all the changes that are necessary to kind of represent your brand properly.
So there's not like a drawer of like of where like Swiss dots started as polka dots.
No,
massively smaller.
No.
Okay.
And again, maybe I'm giving up too much here, Chad, but where it's, I might go over to Chad's desk and say, hey, do you have the 23 sample? And he's like, I don't think I do. And then we gotta go around and we gotta ask one, and
does really Nate have it? Does
really only
around here somewhere
might have it. Yeah.
Basically there's 4 people that might have it. And then sometimes we ship it off to like the training center to let Kitman Mike Flaherty show it to PV or something like that. And then for about 3 weeks, we're all like, did we get that back? Do we need to go grab it? And God's honest truth, there's that few prototypes in general. I think there's 3. There's one that we have, there's one that Adidas has, and there's one that Major League Soccer has. To the point that, we were a little worried about this delivery for some photo shoots and marketing shoots we had to do. MLS sent us their version last week, just in case we needed an extra jersey. And then they were like, hey, just do us a favor. Don't put a sponsor on it. Leave it blank. We need to keep them blank for like their records and everything. Mm-hmm. And we're like, guys, we just sold the sponsor. Can we put a sponsor on it if we got to do a shoot in it? Like, that's a whole lot easier than doing a
Right.
like a Photoshop job and certainly a video job. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
the prototyping is it's pretty limited actually. You'd be kind of amazed. Now it's limited, but you can make all the adjustments and things like that you need. The process is set up pretty well to do that. So
Plus, you're pretty experienced at it now, of going
We've
from
done
a physical copy plus the various online copies that you see to the final copy. So
yeah, I mean, and I would say that process has changed. That's process has changed a ton in my time, and I know it's changed even a lot since you started working on these. So yeah, that process gets tighter and tighter every year, and I mean tighter not in terms of like timeline. I mean tighter in terms of like how it works, and for good or for bad, there's a pretty good set process, and we have a good relationship with the folks at Adidas and the folks at the league on how we do that. We're working on 24 already. In fact, we have a meeting about 24 tomorrow, don't we, T?
Do tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah. So we know
My favorite part of this podcast every year when we're releasing one and you say you're working on the one from 2 years from now. It's a staple.
2024 is because that meeting's tomorrow, it's a snow kit. It's spoiler alert, the whole thing, it's snow themed. It's because we got 7 inches of snow today, city record.
Right.
No, it's it like that process is very kind of like, here's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 through whatever. And that helps us keep it on track. And I literally have the calendar posted on my desk because otherwise we would lose track of where we are in the process. But then we know the prototypes are coming in around All-Star every year, and we know the next prototype's coming in around, this time of year. And we, know that we need answers back to Adidas by X date, and then we move.
All right. You said around All-Star, you're going to be getting messages from me around the All-Star break every year now, asking you how it's going so far.
You guys will be scheduling meetings at the office around that time.
Yeah.
yeah, can we bring alcohol in order to maybe help along the design process and
alcohol
get
is
a
strongly
tour of
encouraged
those
during the design process.
It is encouraged.
It's their muse.
Yeah. There's a
That
fridge
explains-
behind my desk for this reason.
That explains Portland's new kit.
It's polarizing.
It's very avant-garde.
People love it or people hate it.
Well,
yeah.
I have a theory about what our kit tomorrow will look like.
Today. It's releasing today.
Today. Sorry.
By the time people
Mine's a
hear
flat
this
circle,
pod,
Cody.
by the
It'll
time
be
people
today.
hear this pod, it will have been released. Yeah.
I'm hoping that you kind of cribbed Portland's idea, and it will be like a barbecue theme with burnt ends just all over the jersey. And it will be great for our fans because when they drop their food on their shirts, it will just blend nicely.
Won't even notice.
See, Thomas, this is a thing for Thomas and I, because we talked about that. We really considered, how do we do a food stain jersey? And Thomas comes from St. Louis, so he was like toasted ravioli, and I was like, no, man, no T-Rav. We're going, this is. And then he was like, okay, we'll do barbecue, but St. Louis style barbecue. And I was like, no, we're not we're not just going to overcook our pork and cover it in sauce to pretend that it's not overcooked pork. That's we're going to cook real meat the right way with delicious sauce. No.
Hey, Thomas, a square pizza design kit.
I'm thinking about it.
Square cut pizza, man.
No.
We're going to call it the Provel
Worst.
kit.
The problem is you have to call that a jersey product. You're not legally allowed to call that a jersey at that point. It's
Oh, really?
that's such a dumb inside food Provel nerd joke. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I
apologize.
got it, man. I definitely got it.
The people who get that joke are going to appreciate it. Everybody else is going to be like, what the hell does that mean?
Okay,
we'll explain it to Cody later.
Yeah.
Yeah. On that note of all the levels of complication and things like that, Chad, earlier you mentioned that we could do a whole pod on the process of it. The one we did 2 years ago, we really did dive into a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
And if I recall correctly, the conversation we were having was about the classic state line jersey. And you were making we were obviously asking for it to return. Everyone wants it back. And you were talking at length about like why that might, or, why it might not ever happen, or why why it's so difficult to recreate it. Yeah. And so that is why this week, as all of these teasers have been coming out and the word state line seems to be appearing, and, all of these things keep coming out, where I've just been very interested to see this new unveiling because it does seem like some of this branding, I've seen that angle in there somewhere. So I just if that ends up being what this is, I'm going to have to go back and listen to that podcast and hear all the reasons why you were saying we couldn't do it. And then maybe the process of how it happened.
I remember that discussion. That was more about what we can and can't do from a production style and what we can and can't do from a competition perspective. We talked a lot about that. I remember. And that 2013 State Line kit, as we called State Line 2.0, or the State Line split kit, was very, you guys know this. I told you it's still my favorite kit we've ever done. That was a jersey design that came from a napkin in a bar almost a decade before it came about, and it was really, really cool. And I love that jersey to this day. We also can, and a lot of people do. We've done, Thomas and I have over the years kind of not so subtly asked our fans to go out and tell us what their favorite jerseys are, because it does help inform what we're doing and how we're doing it. And what's really funny is, you hear kind of I'll call it the vocal minority sometimes. You're just like, how could you choose this? And then it's just like, well, the fans actually chose that. We didn't choose, you know what I mean? Like, we just follow the tea leaves read the tea leaves from the fans. That kit specifically, we can never do again for two reasons. One, competition. It was the league will never allow us to do something that is that prominently a light and a dark color again. Right. Especially where you've got one sleeve that is all one color. I've never played professional soccer or refereed a professional soccer game, so I can't speak to it. But if they tell us it's an issue on the field, then you listen that, hey, that might be an issue on the field. Yeah. And two is, why would you just rehash the same thing? You don't ever want to just roll the same thing back out there. Because let's just say we did roll out that kit again tomorrow or today, whatever we're pretending this is coming out. This year. Yeah, how many people are just going to be like, I already got that. I don't need to buy that again. I don't want to buy that again. I got that. I want something new. I want something different. And so, those kinds of conversations happen all the time. And then what the question becomes is, what is the new version of that? How do you tell a story in a different way? And so that, when I said we could never do State Line again, it was really more about, we can't do that again. Right. And the same things about this kit. We're not going to roll. I promise you, we're not going to roll this kit out again in 2 years. We're not going to roll it out in 4 or 8 or 10 or 12 years. At least there's not a primary or secondary. You can always look at, different fun things other ways. But I don't know, T, you have anything to add to that in terms of the path we take sometimes on these?
Yeah, no, I mean, the only thing I was going to add to it is exactly what you said on just not being able to rehash it. And as much as people say that's their favorite kit, that is, well, we don't want to see it again in 22. We want an updated, an evolution of it. And, it's the same thing that we saw last year with, the evolution from the 2014 original hoops to the 2021 hoops. It was not identical. It was an evolution of it. It gave somebody a reason to want both of them. And I think that's where we can go. And yeah, the State Line element, again, wink, if that's what it is, then that's something that we, want to continue to kind of evolve over the years or make different each time we would do it.
And I think I mentioned to you guys, we have a 7-year kit plan. We work that far out in advance, and that 7-year kit plan is it's not so we have something etched in stone. It's more about having something, holding ourselves to a plan, what I mean? And holding ourselves to having a plan so that we know where the future stories might go and what kind of stories we will tell. And you can always move something else in there if something better comes up. It's never too late for a better idea, right? But well, sometimes it is, because sometimes production has started, but that's a different thing altogether. Yeah. But yeah, it's about knowing what this brand represents, not just now, but what we want it to represent in 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And if you do that, it just helps you kind of define how you're going to talk about it now, how you're going to talk about it next year, and what the stories you ultimately want to continue telling are.
This episode is brought to you by Google Pixel, the official fan phone of the NBA and WNBA. The new Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro are built different. How? Take the Audio Magic Eraser tool. It helps block out distracting crowd noise so your play-by-play commentary sounds crystal clear. The only phone engineered by Google brings out the audio you care about, so your videos sound as crisp as they look. Learn more at googlestore.com/pixelnba. Audio Magic Eraser requires Google Photos app. May not work on all audio elements.
So, Chad, along those lines, do you feel like there are separate stories being told between the primary kit and the secondary kit, or is it all one unified story and you have more freedom to play and have some fun with these secondary kits?
I think that's a great question. I would say it's a family, it less than it's like, they're not the same story. The league and Adidas actually call them two separate things. We all call them primary and secondary kind of colloquially. There we go. They refer to them as the club and community kits. Club is your primary kit, what people typically think of as your home kit. Community is your secondary kit. And to them, that means club is more like who you are. That's your base. That's your, that's the one where you never stray from, brand colors, turning on the TV, knowing who that team is, right? That's the Netherlands never not wearing orange. The community kit is in their mind more of a storytelling mechanism. It's something that means something to the community, if you will. Like that's more of an opportunity to tell a story. So for example, the Sounders Jimi Hendrix kit last year is a community kit, whereas their new one that came out the other day is a club kit. And that's why it's, Sounders through and through. The Rose City kit for Portland is the same thing. Community kit, let's go tell a story about Rose City. For us, we have a pretty good handle, at least, and T, feel free to chime in here, but like we have a pretty good handle on what we think the primary, the home, the club kit is. That's to us, again, that's the you never turn on the TV and Liverpool's not wearing red kind of thing, at least at Anfield. For the secondary, for the community, it's a series of different stories and how and I think we talked about this on the pod last year, where like we know what the 3 or 4 different stories we want to tell are. Now it's about figuring out when they come out and when we want to talk about them. And sometimes that's a very specific brand element, sometimes, or a design element. Sometimes that's a very specific story that's going to resonate for another reason. And so, I hope that kind of answers where your question there, David, but like, that's what that means, at least to me and to us at the club is, again, what are the different parts of this brand that all fit in the same family? And then how do we kind of parse out how we're going to tell those? And I think the thing that I would say for us is, I don't think you'll see us throw a really, really random dart especially the secondary kit, the community kit, in terms of like a story. That story's always got to matter. You know what I mean? Like it's always got to mean something to the fan who's buying it at Sporting Style or Dick's Sporting Goods or Rally House, and then wearing it, in section 127 at Children's Mercy Park on a match day, or also the kid wearing it to their high school class because they want to, that story's got to mean something to them for us to really put it, and put it in a 2-year jersey cycle. It can't be kind of just something random. You mentioned, you're not just going to throw a dart at the board, but I think there's a distinction there that Sporting has a reputation for being a little bit more daring or risky or, I don't know the right word there, but the jerseys seem to be a little bit more daring than some of the rest of the league. So it's not that you're just throwing, a dart at the board, but there is something a little extra that you guys seem to do that some other clubs don't. I think we've done some stuff like that. I think the ones that stand out are obviously the third kits. The Argyle third kit was a little bit of that's a third kit. T and I have had a lot of conversations about that. The third kit's the playground, right? That's the opportunity that if and when those come back up, like, man, do we have ideas, And this is the sign for everybody to buy a bunch of kits so we qualify for the third kits. Yeah, I would just learn that Austin qualified for this. How is that possible? Austin did, we didn't. Is that confirmed? Do we know that that's true? I remember reading it somewhere that they. Yeah. I'm going off David. David's our stats man. I've heard that rumor too. I just don't know if it's true or not. Yeah. Well, so to kind of piggyback off what Cody had said, even across Europe, right? Nike and Adidas notoriously kind of have templates that they use, even with big clubs. I'm a Tottenham Hotspur fan, as hard as that is to be these days. And like our secondary kit a couple years ago was like Barca's training top. Yeah.
And they were just the same, just with swapped colors. We seem to always have something unique and bespoke. And a couple years ago, The Athletic ran an article criticizing MLS because, something like 7 or 8 teams were running out there with white T-shirts, basically.
That was my boy, Brian Strauss. I love Brian. Yeah. Yeah.
So can you tell me about, how you've been able to get so much agency and with Adidas and the ability for us to not be a team just running out there with a white T-shirt, and I feel comfortable throwing Salt Lake us on this one because they're Salt Lake and they're our rivals, but their new home kit is just a red T-shirt. Like there's nothing about it that would make me want to buy it if I was a Salt Lake fan.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that I think you can speak to as well, but like, I actually took a little bit of umbrage, and I told Brian this because he really is a buddy of mine. I told him, hey, I don't like us being looped into this white T-shirt conversation because you're referencing our third jersey. Like you can't pull our third kit and then say, everybody in MLS is in white jerseys. No, we dropped that a year before most of those came through. Second, it was our third kit and it had shiny ass silver on it. Like that wasn't it was nothing like what some of those other ones came out with. For me, when it comes to how do we break out of that, I guess it's just that we have a plan.
That's what I was going to say. You mentioned it a few minutes ago about how we have it's not a exaggeration when we say we have a 7-year plan. And the MLS and Adidas both know about this plan. We've shared every idea. We've had several meetings with them. When they don't ask for it, we ask for it, and we want to show them what we'd like to do in 3, 4, 5, 6 years.
They ask for 3 years. We show them 7.
Correct. And so when they ask us to present our 3-year plan, we go, all right, awesome. Here's our 3-year plan. Now, do you got a couple more minutes? Because we got 4 more years to tell you about what we want to do. And like Chad said, yeah, is it set in stone? No. But do we get to kind of say, hey, here's where we're trending. Let's talk about this and give us a reason kind of why this won't work. And we can go back to the drawing board but it's boiled down all the way down to the sign-offs that are on the jock tag or the inside of the neck. We have some of those planned out as far as 7 years out now, which is great. And, I think maybe to your point, and this isn't to throw any team under the bus, but I don't know if any other team in the league is looking 7 years out.
Yeah, and we've kind of been told that they aren't.
Correct.
We've been told a lot of teams are kind of moving towards that direction, but they may not necessarily be in the same spot. And like, we don't do that to say that we're any better or anything like that. It's literally about holding ourselves to knowing what our brand is. And it's also about, frankly, heading off conversations at the past. Sometimes, if you've shown somebody something and said, we want to do this 7 years down the road, it makes it really difficult for somebody to come back when you get down to that 2-year cycle and say, you can't do that for whatever reason that might be, and at least you've got at every check-in throughout that process, there's an opportunity for somebody to say, hey, we know you're thinking about that. Here's why we would suggest something different. That's all. That's all just a part of our process that we think makes us better internally. And when it comes to, we know, like I said, T and I have a lot of ideas. Nate Sadoff, our senior creative on the design side, has a lot of ideas on third kits and stuff like that. We know with reasonable certainty, if/when third kits come back for us, what routes we want to go. There's a couple options. We know what routes we want to go. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know what routes we want to go. And we know that Adidas knows that, and MLS already knows that as well, which makes it a whole lot easier for us to continue to raise our hand and jump up and down and say, put us on the list, make it happen. You know what I mean? And like, not just on it, at the front of the list. Those kinds of conversations are a lot easier to have when you're kind of setting the table ahead of time.
Now, I know you guys are professionals, you're sirs, you're gentlemen, you're nice guys, but I know internally that there is a team in MLS that is the butt of your jokes. that is just that everyone knows they're the team that does this the worst. They're never prepared. The league asks them for a 3-year plan. They're like, I don't know, we're not ready for this year yet. There's one team that you all know that's just like, we're just so much better than them.
You know what's funny is we don't get like, there's not a lot of crosstalk there with other teams. We don't.
Right.
I would say I think it's pretty embarrassing that St. Louis was supposed to start playing soccer next week and they don't have a kit right now. Like that feels like what are you doing? You're supposed to kick off this week. You don't have a stadium. You don't have a kit. Like they're figuring it out. Actually,
I think they're thanking God for COVID. They're thanking God for that big delay at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you look around. Like I really dig what Charlotte did coming into the league this year. I think that kit looks really cool. I think it's a cool story. Like, hey, we're talking about storytelling. That means something. It doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know anything about Charlotte's history as a mint, but that's pretty freaking cool for them. You know, I personally, I actually saw some people kind of, shitting on the new Vancouver Whitecaps kit today. And I was like, how do you not like that? That means something to every Vancouver Whitecaps fan for the last 30 years, So I think that one's cool. And David, Salt Lake's an interesting example because that kit means nothing to me. Like what they rolled that out as it's a replica or it's supposed to reference back to 2004 or something like that. And I'm with you. I don't see it. I think it's a fine looking kit. We had the same conversation a little bit about the San Jose kit last year. I think we talked about this on the pod, guys, where it was like, we're supposed to reference a certain year, but then it didn't actually, mimic it enough and it's the same question. Is that a route we want to go where we want to just pick up something and do it again? So no, I mean, we all talk about these things constantly. Everybody talks about these stories, but yeah, you like that San Jose kit sold really well. So who are we to talk? You know what I mean? Like and Salt Lake's got the drummer from Rancid writing songs about them, so they can do that. Like it all means something to different people in different markets in a different way. And I think that's what's always really fun about MLS, especially, is because we don't have a ton of history. We're 26-7 years into this now, but clubs and fan bases have started to really feel like they can own their own history. Mm-hmm. And whether that's history of a club or that's history of a city or whatever, now you've got stories to tell that resonate in market. And I think you'll see that with our kit this year. I think you'll see that with our overall kind of, campaign and brand storytelling this year. Like what we're going to do is it means something, or at least it means something to, we think, Kansas Cityans. And I say that as a lifelong Kansas City, and it means something to me. The first time I saw our brand anthem video that you guys will see over and over again over the next year, like it gave me chills because it was like, oh, yep, that's speaking the language that means something to me. It resonates. And so the kit should make you feel the same way in a lot of ways.
Well, that feels like the perfect segue here into getting the show on the road.
What do you want? What's next?
Well, hold on. I have one more question, Cody, before. And this has been just clawing at me for years. And now I finally have a platform where I can ask this other than pestering Thomas. Thomas probably doesn't remember, but I met Thomas at the Nelson Atkins jersey kit launch. And
that was a good party. I remember
that was a good one. But Thomas and I have some mutual friends, and we were chatting, and then I just ended up pestering him for like 45 minutes. But I do have one. It kills me every year. How is it that I can go to Footy Headlines and find every other kit in the league and we never have a leak? How do you guys keep this so wrapped up tight?
David, I got to say, even though this is Friday evening, knock on wood, man.
Yeah, they're still nervous. They're still nervous at 9 a.m.
This is Friday evening, but man, come on.
Sorry,
I'll let the cat out of the bag. Guys, it was live on Dick's Sporting Goods website 2 days this week.
Really?
What? Oh no.
And Reddit didn't find it?
It's gone now.
The Cauldron Facebook page never saw it?
It's gone now.
No, David, to your point, it is, we've lucked out a lot of years by not being on Footy Headlines. I think, probably from about the second week of January, Footy Headlines might as well be my homepage. It's probably about the first thing I check in the morning to see, hey, did we leak overnight? And luckily we didn't. And it's we've been very lucky, and I actually had a call with the league today about almost this exact thing, because New York City's leaked because Adidas put out an ad for a watch party for their first game. I can't remember, Adidas's website put a youth jersey on sale. I can't remember what team it was last week. I think there were 2 others that showed up on various websites. I think even MLS stores, just kind of, and that's how they do it. Luckily,
so the league was asking you guys how are you so good at it? Is what that conversation was?
No, I was basically asking. I was kind of telling her, hey, we got about 24 hours until that we just have to survive without this leak. And she just said, yeah, I don't know how. It's disappointing that some of these do leak, because we all put a lot of energy. Every one of us, every one of those clubs did nothing wrong. And we all have to work with so many different vendors. That it's actually shocking that they don't get out more, really. If we want any other item to tie to this jersey on day one, well, I got to work with those vendors, not just Adidas, but I got to work with Fanatics, and I got to work with, the scarf vendors, and, they all kind of have to see the jersey to get an idea of what it looks like.
Yeah.
And, we when we send that art to them, it's a very trusting relationship that we have, and we do have it. And I don't think anybody maliciously leaks any of these, but that's a great question, because every year we just kind of look at each other and we go, how did we avoid it this year?
And it is, sometimes it feels like dumb luck. Like this year kind of feels like, dumb luck at this point.
If it was on the Dick's website, then yeah, y'all got lucky.
And it wasn't like,
I'm going to say dumb luck, but at the same point, nobody has it right this second. So
yeah.
We kind of, some shipping delays maybe helped us avoid it this year.
What's is it a Ben Franklin thing? It's probably one of those quotes that's like attributed to him that wasn't actually him. Is like, luck is the combination of hard work and perseverance, or something like that. Like it being on a major retailer's website and being findable if you really, really knew how to look, kind of thing. And it not getting out publicly. I probably shouldn't have told you where it was. I should have just said it was on a major retailer's website, but we'll go back and edit it, right, Cody?
Yeah.
But no, God's honest truth. Like that, once we found out that the email exchange with very, very executive level people at Major League Soccer, executive level people at Adidas, executive level people at, and there was I'll call it a mea culpa email that was like it's down. They're so sorry. They can't believe it happened, and like that means a lot too. Like that diligence from Major League Soccer, from Adidas, from everybody to work to make this happen was noticeable, I would say, as this was going down. And it was like that makes us feel good as a club. That the league and everybody else cares about it the same way we do. And they genuinely do. And like, nobody wants those to leak, everybody wants the club to tell the story the way that they can tell the story. And that's a big, big part of it. And, what's a bummer is we're still, as we sit here at 6:18 p.m. on Thursday, which people are going to think is at 4:30 on a Friday. We're still working on some of the assets that we're going to do to release the jersey.
Oh yeah.
They're not done and dusted and final. They're very close, and they're really, really cool. And I wish I had some of it to show you guys. We do not have, I will not show you today, a picture of the jersey in the full kit, in full shorts, shorts, socks. I don't have it.
Okay.
Yet. We're working on it. I don't know if we're going to have it at 3 p.m. tomorrow. But that some of that comes down to like the cycle, and some of that comes down to the perseverance to try to not let things get out there. I promise that, when something does start to leak on footy headlines, that, like T said, we're all watching it constantly. And your heart sinks anytime you hear like the footy headlines has another MLS jersey, because you just don't want really bad for everybody else. I think I've said this about it, is having something get out there and not getting to talk about the why, because again, the storytelling matters so much to us. Not getting to talk about the why in the right way. And actually, I'm a little bummed that we are going to show you a kit without the big storytelling video that goes along with it, because I think the storytelling video is actually T saw part of it today, saw a teaser of it today. It's dope. It's really cool. And we worked with some really cool people to make it happen. And, you know, you guys aren't going to get the full freight of it, but
we will. It's just be a little bit later.
Yeah,
that's fair.
One question that just came into my mind was Sporting KC is always one of the last teams to release the kit. And it just seems like if you guys are really nervous about it, that you would want to be at the front end of like an official announcement. Is there some sort of strategy that goes into that? You guys wanting to be the last ones, or were you the last ones this year because of all of the COVID stuff and all of that? Like, because you literally didn't even have it, or is there a conscious decision there?
Chad, do you want to say if we could launch this in 2 weeks, then we would?
Yeah, right now I would wait another 2 weeks, mostly because I just still haven't physically seen them myself. Kitman has some. No, go T. I mean, you can speak to that more because that's really driven a little bit more by the retail calendar and the retail side.
Yeah, the retail kind of calendar and releases of these they go along with, you know, Adidas's brand storytelling as well. And so, you know, basically starting Saturday or Sunday, they're going to go live with kind of, hey, the season is here. You know, the season is 6 days away. And MLS is that same way as well. But yeah, a lot of our release is about, you know, we start looking at these shipment reports we told you about that, you know, before Christmas, saying, when are we going to get it? When are we going to get it? And we know, well, if we want to have, and this year, not, you know, withstanding, we usually want to have a very badass launch, you know, where people can actually come and buy it on day one and see it, touch it, feel it, everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was not possible this year. And so, you know, this year was definitely driven a little bit by those delays. And we did say, hey, we want to go as late as we can. And it was, you know, it was Friday afternoon when we decided that, when, you know, but Chad, I mean, that meeting, I know exactly where you, me, Aaron were sitting and going back and forth of, not only what day, knowing that we only had this window, and it was, well, how late in this window can we go? But then it was, well, how late in the day should we go? And it was like, well, we need as much time as we humanly can get at this point, you know? And so this year was driven, it was a little bit different on that release, but you know, every other year it definitely comes along with those shipments when we know we're going to get them. And then when it makes sense to have that launch party as well with kind of the schedule of when the team is here, because that's usually a big part of it, you know, so they're not at preseason or they're not away at their first game or anything like that. There's a lot of kind of scenarios that drive the decision on when we launch it. Because trust me, I think if we could go live with it earlier, if it always made sense, then we probably would kind of, you know, just from a fear of it leaking. You know, it's like, well, let's get ahead of it and let's be one of these first teams where we have the longest runway. You know, people are talking about ours for longer until it kind of shifts into a different narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we'd love to drop it before the holiday. You know, from a strictly retail perspective, like we'd want it on sale for holiday gifting. But you know, production doesn't work like that. And so like those kinds of things, you know, we were originally planning on doing kind of our big marketing photo video shoot for all of this stuff. What was it? January 11th? Was that my original date? I should know this, but I've had 4 or 5 of these scheduled because of the shipping delays that it complicates some things. We were originally planning on doing it on January 11th. And so we could have gone live the beginning of, you know, MLS Jersey Week had that been an option, but it wasn't. It had that worked out that way. And I don't think we're required to give a date to an MLS or Adidas until maybe 2 months ago. But you know, once you've given them a date, it's like that's your date and that's your time, and you're sticking to it. And so everything is kind of a race to the finish at that point. And you know, Cody, it's an interesting question. I hadn't thought about that. If there was a kit that we were going to roll out that we just didn't feel good about, how would we do it? I don't know how. I don't know how we would change. Like, I've never thought about something like that would we want to be earlier in the cycle or later in the cycle? I think we would always, like Thomas said, want to be as early in the cycle as possible, just given the ability to kind of avoid the leaks and control the narrative and all that kind of stuff. Whereas, you know, this year that just wasn't on the table for us.